was sort of sponsored by an acting team that had the energy and the consistency, like the Create Buckhannon, Create Huntington, you know, some of those kind of groups. And so it can absolutely have a problem where, you know, a cool plan gets developed, but it's not rooted in any particular group, and that's where it usually fails.
You know, or consensus. So when we did our, we traveled to Shepherdstown, or one of the members traveled to Shepherd benchmarking trip and met with people there, and the main thing that came back to us there was make sure you take the time to build a consensus and ownership of this plan in your community. And if you don't, and then you try to start acting upon it, then you're back to pushing and resistance instead of trying to pull them to this vision that collectively has been created. And I think we saw that in Elkins when they hired a company to do their 2010 plan, and it's a great plan, but it's not acted upon, and it's not, you know, it's, what is it, you know?
Especially when they had some comments in there on what the school board ought to do, and they had never met with any of the school board members. That created a little friction, I think. You know, one thing we tried to do was to make sure we had all the members playing, and repeatedly. In fact, one of our members just did all the publicity to try to make sure this was constantly in front of the public. You know, come on, give us your ideas, be a part of this. And we did some remote sessions at the senior center, and we did some at a low-income Salvation Army type location where we got people together and make sure we try to cover every part of the community and not just a group. And I think that's one thing. If you do try to come up with a plan or try to offer a plan to the planning commission, maybe they're so tied up in their zoning issues they're not looking ahead. And I think that's the danger of planning commissions, is they're not planning, they're reacting. And they're not trying to think about what the community members want. I mean, I just flipped this open a minute ago, and one of the things it says, you know, one of the top 5 concerns in Buckhannon was the condition of the sidewalks. And we needed to have some kind of a plan where we would routinely go through and do maintenance of sidewalks. I've lived in Buckhannon for 30 years, and I know one particular intersection between City Hall and the college, which I walk to on occasionally, has about a 4-inch curb that sticks up above the sidewalk. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to trip over that curb because the sidewalk's lower at that particular case. I mean, it's been that way for 30 years.
And yet there's no budget amount for sidewalk maintenance. So it's back to that thing, oh, you want to do something. Now, there has been some grants received, and, you know, they do certain things. But, I mean, you think about your community, you know, to make it available for people and places, you know, pedestrians, and every customer at every business in your downtown is a pedestrian, unless they're going through the drive-in bank. And to the extent that you can determine, you know, pedestrian circulation routes, or maybe, you know, direct you from walking trails and link all this stuff together and have some idea, you know, of what you want to end up with, you know, it's a challenge to get anything done, you know. And so, you know, how do you create inertia? How do you get the momentum going? And you know, just you have to start doing things. Yeah.
Was it? You mentioned 2004, but how long since your first group met on that first Thursday until today?
Till today. We finished the report on May 21st, it says. And at that point, I believe it was just about full, maybe just a little bit more. 2 years prior to that is when we officially got started. Okay. Now, and I think the plan book will tell you it takes about 18 months to 2 years. I'm sure you can speed the process up, but there's a danger in speeding the process up too. Right. Is that people start thinking, this just read through, this is something they wanted. So I wouldn't, you know, I know you get anxious on these things.
Right.
We were certainly anxious, but
Sure.
I think it's more important to accomplish the goal than it is to alienate a bunch of people. Or to think, oh, it's that Create Fayette group that's trying to ram this down our throats, you know, wow, I don't like that guy, you know, and so.
Yeah, or if you get identified as having your own agenda and not the community's best interests at heart, then the tide will turn. So you have to be objective in what's in it for the, you know, in the best interest of the community as a whole. And, you know, the makeup of